Metagaming in TTRPGs. Stop doing it. Actually, that's not true. Metagaming is one of those things that is fun. It's fun for the players to discuss how they're going to put their skills together. The question is, when is metagaming good and when is metagaming bad? The answer to this question depends solely upon your table. I don't care what anyone says. What you decide is the level of metagaming that works. Now, I can only tell you what I do on my taming regarding to metagaming. If you're playing a brute barbarian and you come across an arcane sigil and you as the player know what this is, I don't care. You don't know what it is. And if any action you take demonstrates that you do know what it is, we're going to have a conversation. I have a line that I draw when it actually comes to metagaming in my games. At the same time, also, it's a tactical game. Some of us play for the advantage or the thrill of combat, and we like to tell other players what to do. At the same time, on my table, I do set timers. I do say that you have a limited amount of time because combat goes on. Now, there's a combat to that argument. Well, I'm a tactical genius in my game, but I'm not a tactical genius in real life. I need more time to think. Okay, that's a valid argument. I'm going to give you that argument. But the gnome wizard who's never been in combat before, I'm going to make you act rashly. But I'm going to discuss this beforehand. I'm going to discuss this in session 0. I'm going to discuss this with my players ahead of time, or when it comes up in combat, be like, hey guys, I really want to push this combat forward. I want to make it feel like it's thematic. At the same time, as a dungeon master, I don't metagame as much as well. I don't craft encounters specifically against my party's weaknesses. In fact, I craft a lot of encounters for their strengths. But that's metagaming, Richard. Absolutely. That's why there's always a certain level of metagaming that's allowed in any game. If someone tells you not to metagame, you tell them to, right there. That's all we got to say about that. In the end, what really matters is that your players are having fun. But at the same time, we encourage role-playing in a role-playing game. Now, if you play a tactical simulation game, maybe every round does take forever. The majority of tables I'm on, the majority of things I've seen online in Reddit is that combat seems to drag on. It seems to take forever. That's the overall joke. That's the meme, right? 1 hour of combat. Guys, we've done 12 seconds of combat. Not on my table. On my table, you make your moves. Most of my players are not playing hardened warriors. And the folks that are playing hardened warriors usually have a good tactical understanding of what they're going to do. There's also a way around this. In combat, talk about tactics before the battle begins. This is a very easy way for you to metagame in the game, understanding the monsters. And understand, the players probably do understand what a troll is. They understand what a goblin is. They understand what an orc is. They understand what all of these things are. Your players have knowledge of the world, and so do the characters. So a lot of things that we think of as metagaming as dungeon masters and as players is not. The players have that knowledge too. A mimic. If mimics are a thing, and adventuring is a thing, mimics are known. That 10-foot pole and poking that chest, absolutely going to happen. So remember, you don't have to anti-metagame, but we can put a limit to it on our table when it becomes a problem. And the way that you address metagaming is directly, hey guys, we've taken metagaming way too seriously. Our combat's taking too long. We're being way too tactical. I am not against you as a dungeon master. I'm not playing tactically either. When you kill a goblin's friend and it drops dead right next to him, the other goblin's running away, guys. That's what's happening at my games. You can have a variety of things that occur on your table that are anti-metagaming, but still metagaming. And if you want to address it, address it. There is nothing wrong with having a genuine conversation at your table about how you want to play as a dungeon master. Same thing as the players. Hey guys, I would really like a little bit more time in combat. Dungeon master, I understand you're trying to think things going, but I'm still new to the game. When I'm playing with a group of young, inexperienced players, metagaming is something we allow a lot. Now, when I'm playing with a bunch of veterans, or I'm playing a canon event for Hero's Soul, well, then we have a limited time. If your character dies or if they live, that affects the world in my canon event, that we're creating an entire campaign and history with famous adventurers in the background. So we have to keep those specific things in mind as well. Remember, metagaming is only metagaming in the negative sense when it takes it too far. When I, as the lowly hobbit that's never ventured outside of the Shire, knows that a troll dies in sun, is vulnerable to fire, and all of those things, I probably don't know that. Now, at the same time, If the Dungeon Master says, you know what? Roll an intelligence check, and I roll. I remembered the stories I was told as a child of what a troll was. Here's the thing about that. Those stories can be false if you fail that lore check. Or maybe they were false all to begin with. Or maybe they were half true. The bottom line is you don't have to just stick with solely one thing. It doesn't have to be just failure, just success, just knowledge, or just not. It can be anything. It can be any level of metagaming that you want at your table. Sometimes what we consider metagaming is player knowledge, character knowledge. They can be the same. Your world is filled with lores and legends, so there's a lot of knowledge that's floating around there that the characters probably know. Remember, we're playing in a fantasy world with fantasy setting, with bards that tell stories about all sorts of things. That's how that unproficient person succeeds on that check. They heard a story. At the same time, was that story true or not? Lore is sometimes different than fact. So in the end, metagaming is something that both you can do as a dungeon master and as a player. As a dungeon master, it can be dangerous, but can also be very thrilling and exciting for the players. If I create every encounter directly against my players' weaknesses, as a player, that's frustrating. My players built their characters to succeed at something. I got a skill jockey that loves picking locks and loves stealth. Give him a chance to be stealthy. I've got a paladin that loves big hits and needs to hit things. Give him something with lots of HP with low AC. Let them crush things. Give them a swarm of mobs so the sorcerer can toss their fireball. In the end, being strong, being heroic might be what the players are going for. At the same time, I like to play characters with weaknesses, but I put myself directly into situations where those weaknesses shine. Such as I love playing the rogue that thinks he's charismatic, that's not. I call it the Han Solo effect. If you watch the movies, Han Solo fails 90% of his charisma checks across the board. But man, he thinks he's charismatic. He always thinks he's making the deal, always getting the short end of the stick, and most of the time failing to run the run. In the end, I like that. That's a cool concept that I like to play. Metagaming only becomes a problem when it conflicts with the players and dungeon masters. If you meta on the same level to enhance the story, I see no problem with it. And remember, this just gives you a different perspective on metagaming. That's all we're doing here. We're not saying it's right. We're not saying it's wrong. We're not saying what level you should tolerate. I'm saying when metagaming helps the table, it's good. When metagaming becomes problematic, slowing gameplay down, or generally taking away from the challenges placed in front of the characters, then it's a problem. That's just my opinion. And remember, guys, as always, if you like this channel, if you want to help us, like, subscribe, and share this, and stick around after this. We have some exciting news about Hero Soul, an entire way we're going to make Dungeons and Dragons free to play, and we'll see how it goes. So, as always, guys, we will see you next time. Welcome to Hero Soul. So what is Hero Soul? Hero Soul is a free version of D&D based upon the Creative Commons license that WotC actually gave to us. I was waiting for someone to come out with a free version of D&D or an alternative. And instead, what I've got is a lot of very different games, a lot of very cool games when the whole OGL debacle. And WotC doing stupid stuff all the time, creating all sorts of calamity. I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I was tired of supporting WotC. So what have I done? I'm creating Hero Soul. We have a Patreon. Join our Patreon and be part of the process of the creation of this game. I'm not going to post a ton of stuff here on the YouTube channel about Hero Soul. I'm not. But what I am going to do is post a whole bunch of it on our Patreon. If you're a free member, be part of it. You will have access to Hero Soul. You'll get the PDFs as they're updated, as they get posted. You'll also have access to everything else. If you're a paid member, you're going to get behind-the-scenes videos and all that kind of stuff. The bottom line is, if you want a free version of Dungeons & Dragons that you can download for free, join Hero Soul and be part of the conversation. Don't like something that's in the rules? Speak your mind and let's have a conversation and see if we should change it or not. And in the end, you will download the free version of the PDF. And we're talking about a free, full version with monsters, new lore, new races, new ways of doing things, but all based upon the Creative Commons license. You can take Hero Soul and smack it right dab in 5th edition, and it will function just fine. So join us with our Patreon and Hero Soul and let your voice be heard in the creation. This is not a Kickstarter. I don't care. We will eventually have a printed book. We'll get there. But as a community, let's create this game together. Join us and let's start our journey with Hero Soul. I need some help. I'm by myself. I need people to do Discord. I need people to do all that kind of stuff. But right now, I swear to God, I just saw something behind that tree as it's getting dark out here. So I'm going to leave. Join us at the Patreon. Let's do some Hero Soul development. And let's have a free version of Dungeons Dragons, which is owned by the community. See you then. As always, next time. Yay!